we started making names right away. And I loved it. I was robbing drug dealers, and taking their gold right off their neck. And the shit we did, who's going to call the police on you? A drug dealer?
I can identify with anything that was normal, to be honest with you. But I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Yeah.
99% of the time, you're going to disagree.
Just like the Donnie Brasco situation with Lefty.
Yeah, because the reason why, they figure it this way. You brought this guy around, he ratted on everybody, now he ratted on you. You might turn around and join him and rat on us, so we get rid of you. There's no connection between there and there, and they get rid of you.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today we're going to be talking about Michael Ross, serial killer from Connecticut. I was locked up at the time that he was on death row, and I have a crazy story about Michael Ross. So when I was locked up, he got executed. So I was in prison when he got executed in Connecticut. First off, before we get started, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. First off, I want to start this video I want to give a shout out to everybody who's incarcerated in Connecticut, DOC, and all across the country. I know what it's like to be locked up in jail, prison, and it's not fun. Even one day is way too long to be away from your family, and it's not good. But anyway, shout out to all the inmates that are still holding it down. There's people out here who still think about you. So, Paul, what's up? Nate, how are you doing? Steve, what's up, man? Elijah, what's up? So this is going to be a really good one for you guys. I got some videos for you guys, and I have a personal story about Michael Ross. So he was executed in 2005. He committed his crime a lot way before that. But when he was executed, I was still with the bullshit, and I was in and out of prison, and I just so happened to be in prison at that time. So we're going to go over Michael Ross's crime. And the place where he was incarcerated at the time of his execution. So hit the like, subscribe, notification bell. Don't forget. All right, let's get into it. Michael Ross. He is in the prison system. They consider him a total trash bag. He's like a lot of people out there that waste a life. So let's get started. Michael Bruce Ross, July 26, 1959. He died May 13, 2005. An American serial killer in 2005. He was executed by the state of Connecticut. Connecticut ended capital punishment in 2012. And in Connecticut, Supreme Court ruled the capital punishment unconstitutional in 2015, converting sentences of the state's remaining death row inmates to life in prison without parole. Ross's early life. Ross was born in Putnam, Connecticut in July 25th, 1959. He's the oldest of 4 children, having 2 younger sisters and a younger brother. Family lived on a chicken farm in Brooklyn, Connecticut. Ross's home was extremely dysfunctional. His mother abandoned his family at least once, had been institutionalized, and beat all 4 children, serving worse treatment for him. Some family and friends have suggested that he was also by a teenage uncle who committed life ending when Ross was just 6 years old. He was a bright boy who performed well in school. He graduated from Killing High School. Oh, no wonder. Killing, Connecticut in 1977. He went to Cornell University in New York, and he studied economics. In May of 1981, he became an insurance salesman. He exhibited antisocial behavior as a young man. Ross began stalking women in his sophomore year of college. In his senior year, he committed his first R, followed by his first murder soon after. His crime spree was between 1981 and 1984. Now get this, Ross murdered 8 women in Connecticut. He murdered 8 girls, a woman from ages 14 to 25 in Connecticut and New York. He are 7 out of 8 murder victims. He also was alleged to have but not only kill 21-year-old named Vivian Dobson in 1983. The woman named Candace Ferris in Indiana Plainfield. Police rejected the possibility that Ross had been Vivian Dobson's R. They did not press charges, and Ross made no confession. Ross confessed to 8 murders and was convicted for at least 4 of them. He was sentenced to death on July 6, 1987 in Connecticut by Judge G. Sheffield Ford. In 2001, while on death row, Ross pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter in killing of Paula Piera in New York in 1982. He was sentenced to 8.5 years and 25 years in prison. He spent almost 18 years on death row before his execution, May 2005. During his incarceration, he met his fiancée. He was a real piece of work too. People didn't like him in there. I know that. So, Paul, what's going on, man? Staxx, you need to grow channel. I'll drop your link as much as possible. Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate that, man. Maureen, how are you doing? Great content, no drama, truth only. Yeah, man, I'm here to bring you the truth, no bullshit. I have no reason to bring you fallacies. You know what I'm saying? I am really changing my life, and I'm changing other people's lives as well. And you guys are along for the ride. I appreciate every single person who takes the time out to watch my show. I put a lot of effort into it, and I hope it shows. I really do. I'm putting a lot into it, and you guys will see where I'm going with this. I got a lot of things planned, and you guys will see. It's really, really good stuff. Stacy, how are you? Shout out to Stacy. The Westies, what's up, man? So today we're talking. Montauk, how are you? Maureen, how are you? So today we are talking about Yanks for Life. How you been, man? Michael Ross, he was a serial killer in Connecticut. He killed 8 people, probably more than that, but this is what he was convicted of. Now, I was in prison at the time Michael Ross was executed. Can you imagine this? So I was in prison. I was in Osborn Correctional Institution. This is what it looks like inside. I did a little TikTok video, right? There was a prison that looks similar to Osborn, and I used it for a backdrop. And I was talking about being in Osborn, and people were in the comments like, That's not Osborn. That's not whatever block. Like, no shit. This is Osborn. This is Osborn. This is Osborn. And this is Osborn. And I've been there. And it's not fun. Muggsy Siegel, how are you, man? So today we're talking about Michael Ross, which is a serial killer in Connecticut. He was caught up around 1983. He was convicted, sentenced to death for the murder of 8 people. He was killing a lot of people from age 14 up to 28 years old and brutally doing horrible things to them. So now let's get into the story. Although he was exposed to the death penalty, Ross strongly supported his own death sentence in the last year of his life, saying that he wanted to spare his victim's family any more pain. According to Kathy Yeager of Cornell graduate, Ross believed that he had been forgiven by God and that he would be going to a better place once he was executed. She said he's not being punished. He's moving to the eternal life. That's what's ironic about the death penalty. He's looking forward to peace. Yeager also said that Ross had come to believe that there was no way his death sentence would be commuted without forcing his victims to suffer through more legal hearings, and that he knew that life would be meaningful, even behind bars. He had a horrible life, and he wanted to do good in spirit. An hour before his execution was to take place in the early hours of January 26, 2005. I remember that day too. So listen to this. They went to execute Mr. Ross. So what they do is they lock down the whole prison. This is the prison where they executed him. They lock down the whole prison. They look like this. And they're 3 tiers high. The prison is 3 tiers high. Bam, 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 right? So here's kind of a view looking up. There's 1, 2, 3. Boom. Now, there's a long hallway at the end of one of these tiers. You go to the hallway, it's a long hallway. And you got to walk on this yellow line. If anyone was in prison in Osborn, the yellow line. Get on the yellow line. The yellow line. That's how it always was. Get on the yellow line. So they would make you walk this yellow line. They had dogs barking at you. They had people. It was insane. Helmets and shit. They had the goon squad. They locked down the prison. You're stuck in your cell. You can't go nowhere. They feed you in the... They bring the food to each cell. And it's terrible. You're just sitting in the cells all day long because of this trash bag has to get executed. And we're like, damn, man, why are we being punished? Because of him. Like, who cares? Just throw him in there and do your thing, right? This dude, look at the people that he took away from their families. Crazy. Look at how many people. Make sure you hit that like button. William Steele, how are you, man? Shout out to William Steele. Go check out his show. He was on A&E, reality star, From Inmate to Roommate. It's a pretty funny show. So, this trash bag, we're talking about him. Mr. Michael Ross. Trash bag extraordinaire. So in the early morning hours of January 26, 2005, Ross's lawyer, acting on his behalf of the father, obtained a 2-day stay of execution. So they had the prison on lockdown that day, right? We're all in there like waiting for this dude to get executed, blah, blah, blah. They give him a stay of execution. So we're still on lockdown. Like, because of this guy. So Ross was then scheduled to die by lethal injection on January 29, 2005 at 2:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, earlier in the day, the execution again was postponed because of doubts that Ross was mentally competent. So what happened is, guess what happened? They left us on lockdown. People on lockdown. That's how it was. So they left us on lockdown. And so January 29th comes along, right? Boom. However, another stay of execution. Having fought against his death sentence for 17 years, he suddenly waived his right to appeal. His attorney claimed that Ross was incompetent to waive his right. I remember this. He was waiving his right and he wanted to just get it over with. He was tired of all the appeals. He said he was suffering from death row syndrome. In his final days, Ross became oblate or associate of the Roman Catholic Church in West Reading. Ross was executed by lethal injection on May 13th, 2005 at Osborn Correctional Institution in Somers, Connecticut. He was 45 years old. Ross did not, listen to this. I got it. This is where I remember this day, and this is insane. So you're getting like behind the scenes look at it because I was an inmate who was locked up at the time of this execution. Now, we're on lockdown, and they bring Grumpy Italian. What's up, man? You started doing a video on him? Yeah, he was an insane person. So he was a piece of trash. So people did not like him. The inmates did not like him. So they had us on lockdown. The first time they were going to execute him. The second time, they gave him another stay of execution. So people were very angry, right? Because they're keeping us locked up. And they would let us out after about a week. It would be like a week block of time. So what happened is, we're on lockdown, and they're giving out the dinners that night, the day of his execution. This is May 13th, 2005. Now, they would have scheduled meals every day in jail or prison. It would be a scheduled type of meal. Like, there's like bologna on Wednesday or whatever it was. You know what I mean? I know there were cheeseburgers every other Saturday. There was chicken every other Sunday. It was, what was it? Tuna fish every Friday, or a fish patty sandwich. They never had like meat or anything on Fridays because of Good Friday. They follow that. So what happened is, we're on lockdown. They give you the styrofoam trays, right? They come around with this big plastic thing and push it to your cells, and they dish out these styrofoam trays. And they come up and they ask him what he wants for his last meal. And you know, you're able to get like something good. You could get whatever you want, really, whatever you ask them for, they'll get it for you. He goes, I'm going to have what everybody else is having. And it was turkey a la king. If you guys don't know what that is, it's, the inmates call it turkey a la shit. It's like slop. So it's like these noodles, right? They put noodles on a plate, on a tray, and it's this big slop, and they just scoop it out and they put it over the noodles. So it's like there's like peas in it, and like ripped up like turkey, and like it's like thick, it's like thick gravy. So that night, they gave him on the trays. Everybody on the trays got the trays. So he said, I'll eat what everybody else is having. So that kind of like, everybody remembered that. Anybody who was locked up in Connecticut, 2005, May 13th, knows this story. now they used to call it turkey a la king. That used to be the name of the meal. Now the name of the meal is the Michael Ross. Yo, what are we having tonight? Michael Ross. We're after Ross, the Michael Ross. So it kind of, even though this dude was total trash and a waste of society, he was one of the worst in society. Look at all these girls and people he killed. It's insane. And but him saying that he would have what every other inmate is having, it kind of solidified a tiny bit of a legacy in the prison system because of that story, because of nothing else. Because if he was in general population, they would wipe him off the map. He would have been gone a long time ago. The fact of the matter is they put people like that in death row, or they put them in, there's a prison in Connecticut. I'm pretty sure they closed it down now, but it's called Northern. And that's where they hold the worst of the worst. And I'll show you what it looks like in Northern. It's pretty crazy. A pretty dangerous place that I have been before is Osborn's Chow Hall. It's a pretty dangerous place. Or when you're walking up those catwalks in Osborn on the tiers. Because if you, like, picture this. You're on these catwalks, and every cell has 2 people in it. You guys can count those cells, obviously, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. There's 30 people on that bottom right row. 30. So there's 30 people on that row, 30 people on the next one, 30 people on the next one. That's 90 people. Now, hop across the tier. That's 30, 30, 30. So 30 times 6. It's a lot of people. It's a warehouse for people. It's a warehouse for people. it's crazy. So this is what Summers looks like. Or this is what Northern looks like. It looks like state of the art. Like Connecticut's Supermax, and the cells look pretty crazy as well. I'll show you what they look like. Connecticut's prison system is no joke. I've been through the prison system multiple times, and Hartford Correctional Center, no joke. Shout out to all the people who are locked up in Hartford Correctional Center. I've been there so many times. I'll show you guys what a cell looks like there. I've been to MYI. I've been to Hartford Corrections. I've been to Osborn. I've been to Willard Cybulski. I've been to Bergen. I've been to Little Cheshire, Big Cheshire, Gardner. I've been all around Connecticut. I did the Connecticut tour, as they would call it. I'm definitely not proud of it. I'm on here to show you that you guys don't have to go to prison anymore. I will never go to prison again because I don't do those types of things to put me back in prison. I try to help the community now, and I do the best I can to lead by example for other people. And that's the goal. Now, this is what the cells look like in a lot of the prisons in Connecticut. A lot of them have the trays on the bunks. each bed, because you can have a TV. So you get a TV, they're like $300. So there's a tray on the edge of your bed, like right on the foot of your bed, and you have TV on it. Now they have flat screens, but when I first started going to prison, they had big TVs. When I first went to prison, they had black TVs, little ones, Zenith. And then they changed that because people were stashing stuff inside the TVs. And then I remember they cut cigarettes off. When I first went, that's when they were cutting cigarettes off in the prison system. And I was young going through prison. It was pretty wild. But I learned a lot, and I don't ever have to go through that no more. And the people that do go through that, is being away from having your freedom stripped away for one day is way too long. It is terrible. You feel like a caged animal. I definitely know what it's like to be locked up, and it's not fun. It's one of the worst things to ever have happened to you, is to lose your freedom. This is Osborn. They were having a press conference right in the middle of, I guarantee you that was an empty one. That was an empty block when they were standing in there talking to everybody. So I got this a little documentary about Michael Ross, and I'm going to play a clip for you guys. You guys can see what's up with that. So let's get into it. You guys know I got a lot of stuff planned for the future, a lot of different projects going, and we got major announcement coming. If you guys don't know, Brawl for It All and Celebrity Boxing are having an event tomorrow, 4 to 7 in Providence, Rhode Island. And they have a huge announcement. Your boy, Bill Staxx, will be in the building. So I will be there. There's going to be celebrities in the building. So stay tuned and tune in, and you guys will see what the big announcement is. What's all the fuss about, Staxx? Don't worry. Just check out tomorrow from 4 to 7, and you guys will know what it's all about. Now let's get into this serial killer documentary.
Those in Orange County, New York, who knew 16-year-old Paula Pereira couldn't help but like her. She was a bubbly, confident, carefree girl who performed well in school, enjoyed the company of her tight-knit group of friends as much as a good book, and was active in the church youth group. Paula never complained, even though she was known to have had an unhappy home life. Despite her normally cheerful demeanor, Paula's problems at home peaked in 1981, leading to her unsuccessful attempt at suicide by overdosing on pills. From that moment on, while on the bus en route to school, the kids mockingly called Paula Tylenol, but she refused to let the comments get to her. On many occasions, she chose to bypass the school bus altogether and instead hitchhiked to class. Though Paula's boyfriend begged her not to hitchhike because of the inherent dangers, she ignored his pleas, claiming that only nice people pick me up. Then, on March 1st,
Michael picked her up. Mr. Michael Ross picked her up. And what do you think happened when Michael Ross picked her up? What do you think happened when this guy pulled over and acted like he was a nice guy? We're going to find out what happened.
In 1982, Paula thumbed a ride one last time. That day, she was feeling sick and left Valley Central High School early to go rest at her boyfriend's house. She hitched a ride from a Cornell University student driving home from spring break. She was never seen alive again. 18 days later, Paula's battered remains were found in a barren stretch of ground off Route 211 in Wallkill, New York. She had been brutally raped, sodomized, and strangled before being tossed into the marshy area off the side of the road. Even though police frantically tried to find her murderer, the case remained unsolved for almost 2 decades. Then, in 1994, the first break in the case occurred during a televised BBC interview in which convicted serial killer Michael Ross claimed responsibility for 2 unsolved New York murders. Michael suggested that one of the women he killed, he disposed of in the area of Wallkill, New York. Police followed up on the case and determined that the woman Michael was referring to was, in fact, Paula. To support their conjecture, they obtained DNA samples for Michael, which were analyzed and compared with preserved evidence taken from Paula's clothes. The DNA samples were a match, and Michael was formally charged with her murder in the fall of 2000. Michael Ross was later quoted saying to police during an interview, "As soon as I saw Paula, she was dead." Paula was not Michael's first victim, nor would she be his last. In fact, before his capture in 1983, he would claim responsibility for the murders of 8 young women. Daniel and Patricia Ross's marriage was beset with problems from the beginning. The troubles began when Patricia, Pat, was in high school and became unexpectedly pregnant, which led to their forced union. Pat wanted no part of the marriage or of being the wife of a chicken farmer in Brooklyn, Connecticut. Yet, at the time, she had little choice. Michael Ross was born on July 26, 1959. He would be the first of 4 children born to the hapless couple over the space of 5 years. During Michael's youth, there was evidence that his mother, wrought with psychiatric problems, mentally and physically abused him. In fact, Pat purportedly became so psychologically unstable and volatile towards her children that she was admitted to a psychiatric institution on at least 2 separate occasions, and Daniel eventually became the primary guardian of the children. When Michael was 8, there was evidence that his teenaged uncle, who babysat him and formed a close bond with the boy, sexually abused Michael before committing suicide at the age of 14. Despite the trauma Michael endured, he managed to excel in school. He had a special interest in animal science and dreamed of one day owning his own farm. In 1977,
Yo, they say that, right? They say serial killers usually mess around and dissect animals and things like that. Did you hear what they just said about this dude? He started with an animal farm and all this other stuff. Who knows what he was up to? Crazy people. What's good, Jackie? Shout out to you, man. Thank you all for taking your time to join me on this Sunday evening. I got a lot of good stuff planned, and you guys are along for the ride with me, so stay tuned. It's only gonna get better.
After graduating from Killingly High School, Michael went on to study agricultural economics at Cornell University's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. While at school, Michael was socially active and joined several organizations, including the Alpha Zeta fraternity and the Future Farmers of America. Moreover, he became involved in several relationships with some beautiful young co-eds, one to which he became engaged.
Join large-scale battles with military vehicles. The online action game War Thunder has received
Michael's dream of the perfect family began to be crowded out by other fantasies, disturbing, violent, sexual fantasies. It didn't take long for his fantasies to spiral out of control. During his second year at school, Michael started to stalk young women. Eventually, his violent sexual urges took on a new dimension when he began raping many of the women he stalked. Amazingly, he evaded capture for a couple of years. However, in September 1981, shortly after his graduation, he finally landed himself in jail for assaulting a young teenaged girl. At the time of the incident, Michael was working as a management trainee for Cargill Inc. in North Carolina. During a business trip to Illinois, he kidnapped a 16-year-old girl, dragged her into the woods, and gagged her before being interrupted by the police in mid-activity. Michael was arrested for unlawfully restraining the girl, was fined $500, and put on probation. The police had no idea that the man they arrested and subsequently let go was responsible for not only assault, but something much more sinister. That May, the body of Zung Nok Tu, 25, was discovered in Fall Creek, located at the bottom of a gorge in Ithaca, New York. Initially, police believed that she committed suicide. Eventually, they realized that Zung was actually the victim of a brutal rape and murder. Michael's violent fantasies had taken a deadly toll, and Zung would be considered his first known murder victim. Following the murder of Zung, Michael tried to kill himself, but he didn't because he was too chicken to do it. Michael tried to convince himself that he would never hurt another person ever again. Yet, by that time, his compulsions had gotten the better of him.
It's too chicken shit to do it. Fucking chicken shit.
Michael was a man out of control and on the verge of a murderous rampage. On January 5th, 1982,
I could tell you this, he was a punk in prison. People did not like him. He did not get respect in prison. He got no type of respect at all. They were threatening him. I heard all kinds of different stories about things they did to him.
Michael abducted 17-year-old Tammy Williams while she was walking home from her boyfriend's house in Brooklyn, Connecticut. She was later found and strangled not far from where she disappeared. Michael was never suspected in the case and thus had the freedom to continue his killing spree, which resulted in the murder of Paula Pereira approximately 2 months later. In April 1982, Michael struck again, this time in Croton, Ohio, near to where he had found a new job at a local egg farm. At around midnight on April 2nd, Michael went to the home of a pregnant off-duty policewoman, claiming that his car broke down. He asked for a flashlight, which the woman supplied him with, and Michael left, allegedly to fix his car. Michael returned a short while later, asking if he could use the woman's telephone. He spoke briefly with the woman and told her his name and where he worked. After gaining the woman's confidence, Michael attacked her. The woman put up a courageous fight and managed to scare Michael off.
And it was a police officer, an off-duty police officer. Do you hear this? It's crazy. Let's get back to it.
She then promptly called her coworkers, who rushed to her assistance. After receiving a description of the assailant, his name, and where he worked, the police were able to locate Michael the next day. He was immediately arrested and charged with assault. He was bailed out of jail by his parents a little more than a month later and sent home to Connecticut for 16 days of psychiatric study. The psychiatric report shows that Michael was indeed suffering from psychological problems, which he blamed on the 1981 divorce of his parents. Surprisingly, even though he had a criminal record including 2 sexual offenses, there was little action taken to ensure that he remained under constant psychiatric evaluation or police surveillance. This allowed Michael the freedom to carry on with his murder rampage. On June 15, 1982, Deborah Taylor, 23, and her husband ran out of gas near Danielson, Connecticut, and split up to look for a filling station. While she was walking on the side of the road, Michael abducted and strangled her. A jogger found her skeletal remains approximately 4 months later. Michael was not initially suspected, but he would later be linked to the case. In August 1982, Michael finally appeared in an Ohio court for assaulting the pregnant policewoman. During the proceedings, he pled guilty to the charges, was fined $1,000, and served 4 months in jail before being let out on probation. The probation report suggested he make better use of his free time, perhaps by taking classes, starting a jogging program, or learning to fly, hoping the activities might discourage his violent behavior. The recommendation was shocking and pointless. It isn't difficult to understand that such activity would do little, if nothing, to deter a violent serial. Once out on probation, Michael went back to Connecticut and began working as a door-to-door insurance salesman. He was able to secure the job after lying about his criminal record during the application process. It's likely that
Of course he lied on the application process. Doesn't everyone do that? It's crazy, man, that he got away. So, hey, if you guys want to see this this documentary in its entirety, you can go to the description of this video, and the link will be in the description. And
He
go
spotted his
subscribe
next
to the
victim while
channel.
canvassing potential clients. On November 19, 1983, Robin Stavinsky, 19, disappeared while hitchhiking in Norwich, Connecticut. Joggers found her remains a week later near a local hospital. She had been raped and strangled. At the time of the discovery, investigators working on the case were able to link Stavinsky's murder with that of Tammy Williams and Deborah Taylor's because of the marked similarities between the cases. Most of the victims were of similar stature, had been sodomized, found face down, and strangled. It was becoming increasingly clear to the police that a serial killer was in their midst, yet at the time they had few clues as to the identity of the killer. Working with the evidence taken from the crime scenes, they worked frantically to put a face to the serial murderer. Then, on Easter Sunday, 1984, Michael committed his first double murder. 14-year-old friends April Brunet and Leslie Shelley from Griswold, Connecticut were walking home from the movies en route to a friend's house when Michael kidnapped them. When the girls' bodies were later found, it was clear that they had both been brutally raped and murdered in a similar manner as Michael's previous victims. 2 months later, Michael claimed his 8th murder victim. On June 13, 1984, 17-year-old Lisbon, Connecticut resident Wendy Baribeau was abducted in broad daylight. Witnesses claim that they last saw Wendy alive walking down State Highway 12, allegedly on her way to a convenience store. Her remains were found several days later. Like Michael's other victims, Wendy had been raped and strangled. However, unlike the previous murder cases, there were witnesses who say they noticed a thin white man with glasses driving a blue late-model Toyota following her the day she disappeared. It turned out to be the break investigators were hoping for. Detective Michael Malchuk, who worked on the Tammy Williams case, was assigned to chief investigator of Wendy's murder case. Malchuk began his investigation by pursuing the car that witnesses claimed to have seen. Malchuk printed out a list of 3,600 locally owned blue Toyotas that matched the description. Coincidentally, the first person on the list he visited on June 28, 1984, was Michael Ross.
Yeah, he's talking
During
about
the
you.
interview, Malchuk
They usually just give you the job and you just fill it out later. They're like, yeah, just start right now. Like, and they have you fill it out later. But the kind of work I'm doing, you need a pretty good resume, and they're not going to hire just anyone. But I got some major announcement coming because I got a couple major jobs. Major. And this is what I've been working for, and it's what I've been striving for. So all I can say is I am truly blessed, and thank you to everyone who's been supporting me on my journey through getting my life on track. I really appreciate everyone who has been sticking by me. I really appreciate you guys.
Immediately became suspicious of the young man. Malchuk described the visit as a roller coaster ride because every time he was about to leave the apartment, Michael would drop him a crumb that would make him think that he should ask more questions. Eventually, Michael couldn't withhold his ghastly secrets any longer and confessed to some of his crimes. Initially, he told Malchuk only of Wendy Baribeau's murder, but then later, when in police custody, he confessed to also killing April Brunet, Leslie Shelley, Tammy Williams, Deborah Taylor, and Robin Stavinsky. It would be years before he would claim responsibility for killing Paula Pereira and Zung Nok Tu. In July 1987, Michael went on trial for Deborah Taylor and Tammy Williams' murders. He pled guilty to their murders and received a maximum sentence of 120 years. The following month, he was tried for the murders of Wendy Baribeau, April Brunet, Leslie Shelley, and Robin Stavinsky, and was convicted. He received a total of 2 life sentences and 6 death sentences. During and after the trials, Michael became angered because he felt that the judge and jury were biased and the testimonies of some of the witnesses were grossly inaccurate.
This dude confessed, right? He confessed. So how can you possibly come back and act like, oh, like you confessed, man? Like you confessed. There is no talking about it after that. You confessed. Look how much weight he gained. He was eating soups like a motherfucker, man. And this is before he died. He got those Chester glasses on. So they call them tree jumpers. They call them that in Connecticut prison. They call them tree jumpers. And they usually wear glasses like that. You know, the state glasses, the brown ones. And they usually get their head split open a couple times a week. You know, they play games with them. It's like, look, they'll throw stuff on them through the bars. They'll do all kinds of crazy things. It goes to show how messed up in the head he was. Definitely, man. Yo, I lived in Michael Ross' death row cell from F block. I've been I don't think I was in F. I think I was in a different one. Did 4 months in there near the death door. I know that I wasn't in that. You know when you come in, like the receiving one, when you come in to Osborn, they bring you in the basement of, what is it, G or B? They bring you in the basement and they take the handcuffs and the leg shackles off you, and they put you in the cell right on the left, and you all sit down. It's like a cage. It's the cage right before you go to court. It's the cage before. It's where they bring you to transport in and out. It's like the A&D of Osborn back. That was back then around this time when he got executed. I remember having to go to court, and because Osborn is part sentenced people and part, it wasn't a single cage. It was like it was a long cage. It's all the way down the main hall. Yeah, the death row. Yep. So where I was, you come out of the door and you take a left. You take a left. I was in B block, I think it was. I was in the unsentenced population block. And so when you go out, you take a left, and they make you walk on that yellow line to go down to the chow hall. You go down the hall, and I think, if I remember correct, the cafeteria or that chow hall is on the right, right? You go down the hall, and the chow hall's on the right. You walk into the chow hall, it's huge. And you walk in, you got to walk up, grab your tray, it comes out, boom, you grab it, and you sit on the little tables. But it was, it's pretty overwhelming when you first get there, and you're like, holy shit, man. Yeah, that's where I was, man. This was in 2005. I was there when Michael Ross got executed. I wasn't there like watching it, but I was in prison at the time, and they locked the prison down. They gave us some nasty ass food, and they gave us turkey a la king, and that's what it was. And he said, I'm going to have what everyone else is having. So now, when they have turkey a la king in jail or prison in Connecticut, when people say, yo, what's for dinner? They say the Michael Ross. They like named this meal after him. And it's disgusting. Turkey a la king. Yeah, it's disgusting, man.
Yet, probably his greatest source of irritation was that he felt the court failed to recognize his alleged mental illness.
You guys know that they have like nasty food in prison. Like they give you that bologna, it's like green bologna, and then they have chicken patties with like veins in it. It's disgusting. Then they have like fake ass noodles. They're like little shells with fake ass meat. I don't know where the hell they get this stuff.
Michael suggested that this was most evident when the judge disallowed testimony by psychiatrist Dr. Robert Miller. The defense team claimed that had Dr. Miller been allowed to submit his testimony concerning Michael's psychological state, the jury would have been more lenient during the penalty phase. Moreover, his mental illness might have even been considered
That's
a
right,
mitigating
bad
factor,
memories right
which
there,
could
my
have
friend.
spared him the death penalty altogether. In protest, Michael filed a long list of complaints and petitioned the state for a new trial. After examining his case, the Judicial Review Council and the statewide grievance committee dismissed his complaints. However, Michael continued the appeals process, and eventually his case was taken to the High Court.
Yo, if you guys like this kind of content, I'm going to come back and do another one of this, part 2. Because I don't have time. I got other engagements. I apologize, but I'm a busy man. I got to get to work. I appreciate everybody who takes time to watch this show. And let me play one thing for you before I go real quick. So you guys can see what the hell is going on. Bam! You guys know who this is, right?
Blood on the Razor Wire TV here, YouTube Chad Marks. I want to know where you're going to be at on March 6th. They got it going on. Hollywood will be in Providence, Rhode Island for Brawl for It All. Damian Feldman, Jared Tillinghast, Bill Staxx. What's up, everybody? Blood on the Razor Wire TV here, YouTube Chad Marks. I want to know where you're going to be at on March 6th.
Huh? What? What do you mean? What can you possibly mean, right? Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. We got more. Your friend wants to say hello to you guys. Ready for this one?
Jared Tillinghast, who owns Brawl for It All, and Damon Feldman, who owns Celebrity Boxing. They're going to make a big announcement on March at the Mayor Rooftop at 229 Waterman Street. Make sure you're there. Make sure you show up, because Hollywood is coming to Providence, Rhode Island. So make sure you show up, and don't let me have to come and pay you a social bid because you don't show, because you don't want me paying you a social bid.
I know you guys like that one, right? We got more. We got another one. We got more. This is going to be in Providence, Rhode Island, tomorrow from 4 to 7 at the Mar Rooftop. Don't miss it. I'm going to be going live from there. We're going to be showing you guys some major things going on.
This is Bill from Inmate to Roommate on A&E. Listen, huge announcement. Hollywood comes to Providence, Rhode Island. Celebrity Boxing, special press conference tomorrow, March 6th, 4 to 7 p.m. We're going to have Damon Feldman from Celebrity Boxing, Jared Tillinghast from Brawl for It All. Be there. You're going to have a phenomenal event. Bill Staxx is helping to coordinate a lot of things and has reached out to me. He's a dear friend. He stood by me since I got out of prison. Nobody would give me a chance. Shout out to Bill Staxx, Chat with Staxx. Check out his channel. And we're looking forward to this press conference and Celebrity Boxing. Hollywood comes to Providence, Rhode Island. Thank you so much for watching my show. And check out Celebrity Boxing. Thank you.
Bam! You don't want to miss it. Major announcements coming. And if you guys are rocking with me like I'm rocking with you, you already know what it is. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. And remember, don't be a bitch.